mouth. You want to get word of mouth because that's 82% conversion rate. The contracting business or adjusting businesses, and I don't know if you want to share some of those insights, a lot of consulting business, right? They are either running it on their own personal credit. I came to realize was that Dimitri has built an audience, which is the contractors, but if we're really going to help the contractors community, which I call the middle class in America, then you have to put the whole picture together. What if when this gentleman borrowed money and he used it on 17 different roofing projects, I knew exactly what projects it's being used on, exactly what stage that job is in, you know, and knowing exactly when Richard is going to get paid, right? Walmart. If you look at their balance sheet, they have $50 billion in the bank, you know, but they have a $40 billion credit facility. Now, why would they not use their own money? How many, same here, if you even the most successful roofing company, for example, that says, yeah, we got 3 offices, we're a 20, I keep hearing that a lot, we're a $20 million company. And I always say, is that revenue? Is that, you know, market?
All right, so some of you already may know me. My name is Monica. I'm the host for this event. This is Raul Morero. He's with Knowledge Transfer. He's going to be doing the presentation. Today we're going to be covering understanding some factors, understanding AI and automations, some use cases, how business owners can leverage these technologies, hands-on session identifying automations opportunities. We're going to do the introduction to SMB and our operations, and at the end we're going to do a Q&A in case you guys have any questions. Feel free to hold them off towards the end of the presentation, and then we'll be more than happy to answer them for you guys, okay?
Very good. Thank you, Monica. All right. So how many of you guys have heard the word factor? And we talk about that in terms of when you factor and you borrow, right? If you ask a contractor about factoring. Richard, what do you do, my good sir, so that I can incorporate that?
I'm a roofing contractor.
Okay,
yep.
perfect.
I do all exterior renovations.
So if I say factor, right away we're thinking, right, financing,
Sure,
reversing,
right.
and so
Yep.
forth. Very expensive is what I've noticed. Because of the way, like I was telling you guys earlier, the way my brain works, I just accepted the fact that OCD is something that either you're going to let it limit you, or what I call it, weaponizing your weaknesses. If you can weaponize those things, you can turn them into assets. So the way my brain works is, I said, everything begins with a factor. And very simply, the definition of it is a way of working backwards to find an unknown. I've seen a lot of folks, and it's a torrent of it. You see it in social media a lot. You got the gurus and the experts telling you how you can SEO and PPC and email campaigns and all this stuff. And it's not that complicated. It really can be broken down to very simple variables. So why would you want to do this, is what I wrote here, is because you can use an outcome to figure out where to begin, whether it's revenue goals, funding goals, sales goals, any goal whatsoever. And if you guys saw the extent of how I've used this with real cases, you would be surprised what you can do with this kind of information. So all things become predictable, guaranteed even, when you understand how to factor. So Monica, give me the next slide, please. So let's just keep it, and I don't like making things complicated because I don't like people trying to show how smart they are. Just keep this thing simple. So look at this. Let's begin with an example. Say that you have an event that you want to have, and assuming you don't have the address wrong, you want 24 people to attend an event, right? And you decide that you want to use email. Now, how many of you people have said, well, yeah, let's do an email campaign, let's get this outreach? I think I was talking to you, Danny, recently, right? And we start talking, you see out there how many you got to send, and you hear that somebody can give you a list of 50,000 names and so forth. But if I ask anyone, how many do you actually need? That's where it gets tricky and people get stuck. Well, you're looking at it right here. Look, if we know that the response rate for email is usually 0.5%, and I'm actually being very generous, you know, it's usually lower than that, then in this case, your factor, and write this out if you guys want to take these with you, 0.005. If you have 24, that's your target, and you divide that, there's your number. So email has changed recently, right? They came up with a new DMARC reporting that they're actually trying to cancel out people that are sending just garbage emails, and that's part of the problem. They're destroying it for those that have real opportunities, whether you're trying to reach a homeowner, you're trying to reach a commercial property manager. So 4,800, if your list is scrubbed and you have your emails validated and you have your target and you are actually properly set up, you start sending that out, and you'll see that your conversion factor, your emails count factor and your email conversion factor will give you that end result. Thank you, Jesse. All right, so let's do this with another one. This is a different medium. Now we talk about the print method, okay? In this one, if you can see, the same intent, but look at the, in this case, the response rate being 2%. If you go back into a factor, you're looking at the math behind it, 24 divided by 0.02, you're gonna end up with 1,200. So if you start sending out 1,200 in print, you're gonna get the response that you need, and there's your 24, okay? And by the way, that I'm showing a greeting card, but you can make that a letter, you can make that. And if you have any doubt about it, you ever seen folks that they tell you got to send something 6 times? If you increase the frequency, anything that you apply the frequency to, you're gonna make it more responsive, because of course it becomes more familiar, but you're only enhancing the actual outcome. Now let's do this by phone. A lot of people, when they start seeing this, and I thought everyone had this information, check this out. Email, 0.005, print, on average 1%, telephone is usually 11 to 13%, so I averaged it out to 12. In person with people, most people wonder why door knocking is so effective, and it's because when you're right in front of somebody, it's 63 to 67%. You know, so the reason why it's so effective is because you're actually right there engaging. The only thing that's higher than in person like that is the famous word of mouth, right? We hear, oh yeah, word of mouth, you want to get word of mouth, because that's 82% conversion rate. And if you can trigger that, that's wonderful, but most people don't realize that there's one level up from that, and that's the Jones effect. The Jones effect is 92, 97%. You're a roofer? Sign me up. They don't even care what your name is anymore. They just want to sign up. So from my perspective, when I look at digital distribution, if my conversion is 0.005 and I'm looking at sending a million emails, I'm going to get spam blocked. I'm going to annoy a lot of people. It's not even targeted. There's a reason why people get the response that they get when it comes to email. When you apply it to print and phone, here's the only problem I have with this. Look, if you look at phone, if I send out a postcard and someone responds to it, but they do it 2 weeks after I sent it, I now have latency. You know, I have 2 weeks that I got to wait for that person to respond. The problem with that response is that if they call me by phone, my conversion rate is 12%. So I have a 12% probability that I'm going to convince Alexia, right, to come in for a meeting or to let me go do an inspection, you know? So if you just, again, think of the factor the way I'm presenting it, because it can change everything. It can drop your marketing costs. You'll see where I mentioned it. You can actually make acquisition costs go to 0 when you switch it fully to retention. Retention marketing by far is the cheapest, the most effective if it gets properly positioned. So here, if I need to get a hold of 24 persons, you can see there's the math, 24 divided by 0.12. I got to make 200 phone calls. If I start calling people in a subdivision and I call 200 people, I will get 24 of them to say, sure, come on by. You know, now are all of them going to meet the, you know, they're going to be there for it? Probably not, right? What you mentioned, you know, if 15 signed up, 12 are going to show up. Yeah. So this is the math behind each of these. Monica, give me the next one. All right. So let's do a live scenario, okay? What's that famous movie? If you build it, they will come. You're a salesperson and you want to make $400,000 a year, and this applies to owners too, by the way, whatever trade you're in, and it doesn't matter what you're selling, but you find out that the commission rate is 7%, right? So if you are a prudent person and you start incorporating the factor, you will see how 400,000 divided by 0.07, that's how we got that number. So this is the cheesy line. Go ahead and sell 5.7 of whatever that is, and you're going to get it. Now, to throw numbers up is just, right, it's hyperbole, it's BS. Why don't we turn this into a real scenario? Because this actually happened. This actually was done. And if you guys can take something away from this, you're going to see how it has context. What you're looking at right there on the left-hand side were my little scribbling notes. This was in 2020, where at the time, I met a contractor kind of like Richard, right? And I said, what are you paying in terms of a commission? What do you sell? Well, we sell roofing. We sell it door to door and so forth, right? So I wrote these numbers out, and this is the method I was given, that I was going to get a 7% commission, and I need to make $400,000 a year. If I don't make 400 at least, then I don't think, the time is worth the effort. So that gave me that number. And at the time, if you guys watch these numbers, you guys that are in roofing would know these numbers, right? What was the average roof selling for in those days? 15,000, right? For those of you that were selling in 2020. 380 jobs. Let's be, again, realistic. If we add in a non-bought rate, because it doesn't matter if I put 380 jobs, I have to incorporate a non-buy rate. So in my head, I said 437 jobs is what I need to go get. I don't work all year. I need a few weeks off. So I divided that by 44 weeks. And that told me that I needed to go out and get 10 signed contracts per week. Now, already these numbers, right? We're like, wow, those are pretty big numbers, I have Charlie, who was going to join us, assuming he was going to come in later. He actually met with me a few days ago. He was there when all this happened, and I said, come on by, brother, if you can break away from your appointments. So 10 signed jobs. Look at the close ratio. I predicted that my close ratio would be 60%, or there's the factor, 0.6, So with that said, it would be 16 appointments that I had to do. And this is the part that you guys as roofing company owners, you run into that. What do we tell the guys, right? Go out and make some appointments. We're going to generate leads. You're going to go knock some doors. What does that translate into? If somebody actually gets out of bed and goes out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and they make 3 appointments, they're going to have a good probability of meeting these numbers. Now, I'm going to share with you guys the way I did it, okay? I saw a lot of guys running out, and they would make an appointment, and it's almost like a guy that goes to a bar, meets a girl right away, he's trying to, literally overwhelm the person. Says, slow down, brother, you're not going to impress anybody that way. So what I said was, okay, homeowner, I want to inspect your roof, Oh, sure, you can go ahead and do it. Oh, no, ma'am, I'm busy. How about we say tomorrow, 10 o'clock or 12 o'clock? Stage choice, both choices being yes. The person would say, oh, I can do 12. When I set the first one, I would go to the other one. Oh, no, ma'am, I have 10 o'clock or 2 o'clock. Again, stage choice. They would pick one or the other. And that allowed me to literally start every day with a 10 o'clock. I give myself 2 hours in between each one. 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock. What motivates us more than to feel like we got something success? We got to feel like somebody's at least saying, hey, you got to be doing something right. So it felt really good to know that I went to 3 appointments on average. And if I closed even one, by the time I returned to the door knock, which was from 4 to 7, I felt like I was already, I already made money even before my day started. So, and that little tweak right there makes all the difference, because while everybody else was out trying to get the appointment to get on the spot, one of the things that I realized was, okay, even if I get the appointment, even if I get on that roof, even if I get inside and I sign this, nobody's going to know that I did this, So that's where the automations start coming in. You guys are going to see them in a minute. I promise you, when you see these things come together, it's going to give you enough perspective on that. So if you look at it, hi, welcome.
Thank you.
So if you look at it here, oh, should they, Monica, can you go back one? Go back one slide. Yep, we hadn't switched yet. Okay, so here, if you're looking at it, based on this, watch what you're going to see this, guys. I told you that I set out to sell and make 400,000. Now, Alex, am I going to make that right? I probably figured if I got half, right? Right? That's why we set such a high number. Like, if I get half of that, I'm okay. I'm doing better than most. But look at what happened, guys. It ended up being 624,000. How many here are familiar with the snowball effect? Right? Okay. So we know the snowball effect, right? If I talk to you and several people and you say, well, right now we're not ready for something, most people get anxious, especially salespeople. Oh, I got to close this person. They get annoying, right? It's like commission breath kicks in. if you leave that person alone, you'll find that as you continue downstream, some of those people come back to you. So go ahead and turn the slide, Monica. Now watch these numbers. Guys, look, I don't like BS. Okay, so look, see this right here? There's the number right there. There's the files. If you guys ever want to do an audit, I have every single one of them. What you're seeing here is because the factor can be influenced, and that's what changes everything, okay? Where's, oh, here. Let me have the camera that I had my camera over here, the red camera. Did anybody grab it? No. Oh, there it is. I want you guys to take a look at this. I saw a lot of people taking pictures. If you guys want to write this down, I encourage you to do so. It's a discontinued camera. It's the Nikon L32, okay? What makes this camera special is if you turn on the red eye, I'll send you the pictures, Richard. Take a picture with your regular camera of a wall or a ceiling that has stains, and you'll see that they either disappear or they're slightly not there. If you take it with this specific camera, it almost intensifies it 10x, you know? And I'm about to brag about how my buy rate was 93 to 97% because I inspected roofs like if my life depended on it. And when I got inside the houses, I would make sure that, you know, I took pictures with this stuff. And I have pictures of without it and with it, and people are blown away. I said, look, nothing changed. All it does is it emphasizes what our eyes can't see with the spectrum. I call it the spectrum method. So when we talk about the factor can be influenced, it absolutely can be influenced because look, these were the numbers. 634,000. What that contractor ended up doing when he saw the kind of numbers I was doing, I guess he wanted to motivate me, and he increased the commission to 10%, you know? And I said, okay, that's fine. My number hasn't really changed much. The size of the roof jobs, I saw a lot of guys selling the little 20 square roofs. Well, I just moved over to an area that had 45 square size roofs, and that changed the number drastically. So you can see my math started to change. 226 would be the average job. There I'm adding in again the non-buys because I figured some of these are not going to get bought. I grabbed that new number, divided it by 44 weeks, 6 jobs per week. My close ratio went higher because of the Jones effect. I was telling you that because of the frequency. People saw me going into the area more, and from doing so, the close ratio increased. That turned into 8 appointments a week, not 16 like I had before. When I divided that into 5, look at that, guys, 380 became what you're seeing right there. I'm trying to show you guys that I stopped selling at 7 months, 14 days. Okay? Right? How cool is that? When I saw this, and it was all because of the factor. If you can understand the factor, and I'm going to ask you guys right now, we're going to interact a bit. What medium are you using? And I want you to write it down and then go and apply it. Because you'll see that this is not me. This is not my ability. This is literally logic, math, reasoning, all the things that are built into, you know, right? The simple fact that you're here, you're already being influenced and you're already changing whatever. It's how we all interact. So when I committed to this, at 7 months, 14 days, I stopped selling. I had met my number. Okay? And that was the last year that I sold roofs because I started seeing a problem. I saw a contractor that couldn't build them. You know, and what he said was, he says, Raul, I owe you 600 grand. If I give you that money, now I don't have any working capital. You know? So I was like, okay, so you're undercapitalized, and you got a lot of reps that are not selling, you know? And when I ask you about a file, I see you guys scrambling, trying to log into Job Nimbus or one of those tools out there, and it's like a Rolodex. It doesn't do anything, you know? The most ironic exchange that I had, guys, was when I actually spoke to a contractor. I spent 2 hours with him, explaining to him, you know, just about anything that could be done. And then literally by the time the meeting was done, even though I was telling him how to self-gen, he said, okay, but if I sign up with you, how many customers or leads can you get me? Now keep in mind, this is going to blow your mind. The guy had already built 782 roofs before. He had already convinced 782 people to give him their money, the check, right, and the trust. And he's asking me how I'm going to get him more customers. And I said, what did you do with the last 782? When was the last time you spoke to them? You know, where's that? They gave you trust. It's like you meeting your wife, right? You're going to meet your spouse, and you go through all that trouble of getting that relationship, and as soon as she says yes, and they're at the altar, she says yes, you walk away, you're like, hold on, I got to start all over again. I got to go get a new girlfriend, you know? and just keep doing it over and over. It's nonsense. So if that sounds ridiculous, that's how ridiculous it was to me to hear somebody say that they needed to go get me to go get them a customer when they've got 782. So one of the things that I emphasize, we're going to get into the automations right now. How many customers have you had, Richard, in your years?
A lot. I don't know that I could put a number on it.
So I have bought maybe, 21, 24 cars in my life, and I've never heard back from the salesperson that sold me the first car, or the second, or the 18th, or the 24th. And I mean, if you guys see the cars I like very nice cars, you know? And you would think that that person would want to keep me, right, somewhere in the relationship. Every time I need a new car, I got to go meet a new sales guy, you know? And that to me is disastrous because I'm like, didn't I just tell you I buy a lot of cars? Look at my age, right? By now I've bought a ton of them, you know? How cool if I was always going to that guy to buy whatever I needed, you know? So those customers that you guys have had before, that you had the relationship with, if you built their roof, for example, for roofers, and if you finished the billing, and you don't talk to them again, because I ask this question a lot, when was the last time you talked to your customer? And usually I hear, well, unless they have an invoice or they owe me some money, usually I don't. So what are you doing now? You're going on Google, right? You're trying to buy leads again. Guys, I'm telling you, acquisition marketing is 90% of your spend, and most people apply 10%. I had a meeting with a very high-level billionaire a couple of days ago that these guys are, billion enterprise or billion person, it doesn't really matter. When he heard what I was sharing with him, I said, you can make retention wipe out acquisition, and he's very smart. He right away jumped in and goes, that's impossible. I said, it is if you just go broad, but if you fish farm it, and as soon as I said that, the light bulb went off. He understood what I was saying, because he develops platforms and stuff. I said, you get the math? And he says, oh my God, yeah, you're right. I said, well, I don't want to be right. I'm just telling you what is, What got his attention is when I said, an 18-year-old, when they do this with a tassel, right? They all of a sudden, they get to throw this hat in the air, they get to go home and celebrate they graduated. What we know the reality is, at our age, is that means that person can now sign contracts, buy cars, and all this stuff. And there's no relationship. That person has what I call human lifetime value, They don't just need a roof. They need a whole bunch of stuff. I want them to come to you and ask you, hey, do you know a landscaper? Because obviously that's something that you would know who is ethical and who's not, right? Or who's done something. You just said something right now about Dimitri. You said, hey, that gentleman helped me out, That information needs to be transmitted, So all you saw here, when I saw this happen, and I started to understand this industry, I said, wow, you've got software out there that doesn't do what it's supposed to do. You've got guys out there selling without maintaining relationships, and then you've got contractors carrying all the risk, right? Because you got the overhead and the light. You don't build those things, it's on you. So we thought there would be a better way to do this. Go ahead and turn the slide. So here's where I'm going with this, guys. Whatever you sell, it can be influenced. Alexia, what do you do? Your marketing. Okay, so all this is resonating with you, right? Yeah. Now, there's a lot of terms that we use, right? Conversion rate and this and that, and everybody gets on the buzzwords. I just latched on to the factor, I literally latched on, And comically, I'll share with you guys, I actually applied a factor to a gentleman who recently divorced, and I told him what factor needed to apply, and let's just say he's not sitting at home staring at Netflix, he's out having a wonderful social life, and he says, how the hell did you come up with it? I said, I didn't. It's already been there. You're a marketer. You know what I'm talking about. Who here has used certain mediums? Can you guys share that a bit? Like, for example, you, sir. What medium have you used for your marketing? Is it door knocking or print or what?
I do more leveraging of relationships.
Okay, networking then. Yeah. Okay, what's your conversion factor that like you'll meet 100 people, how many of them become relationship?
I look more for, I deal more with insurance agents, real estate agents, things like that. So it's not necessarily a conversion factor with them.
Okay.
It's like I said, the conversion factor from leads from them sits around somewhere between 70 and 80%.
Okay. Because you're triggering almost the word of mouth, right? Because in that context, yeah. So here, word of mouth from that, I would say to you, here's this knowledge and information, let's take that to Jones effect. So that they all are calling just because of that, the fact that you are the person that they're all coming through. So And if he's networking, and let's say he's convincing 20% of those people that he networks with, then he has a 0.2 conversion factor. If those people that are being referred are coming in by word of mouth, that's an 82%, 0.82 conversion factor. So you, sir, are prospering, Everyone wishes they had that kind of math behind them. And look, all I did was just share with you the actual reverse math of it, okay? So send an email or send an email with a custom video. Send an email or I think you got that one in there twice, Monica. Okay, we'll ignore that one. Hire a contractor or hire a directory contractor. You see what Dimitri's trying to do with directory, right? We're trying to influence the factor. You're going to search Google, or you're going to ask the neighbor or the guy that you know. You follow? Dating site or blind date. Everything can have a factor applied to it. So here's what I was saying earlier about the retention marketing can zero out acquisition marketing, but some people say that it's impossible. I've actually tested that out. I actually can prove to you guys in numbers that you can wipe out acquisition and stay strictly on retention. If I have your information today, Richard, you will hear from me consistently in many different mediums for the next 10 years of your life, and you will think I'm doing it myself personally. It's not. I have, her name is Vivian Chavone. I signed her up with Callaway Roofing 3 years past. She went through this whole thing with insurance, and when the check arrived, she refused to give the check to Drew, saying, Raul has been keeping me in the loop all this time. I will only give him this $27,000 check to Raul. Raul had not touched that file since the day I signed her up. It was all automations, And she could have sworn, I was reminding her of her birthday. I was reminding her the day we met. I was reminding her of, the storms that were coming. It was just crazy how she thought I was doing that, and it was all automation, okay? So retention requires touch points, the holy grail of communications frequency, and for that, we need to turn to automation. So let's get to it, guys. You guys gave me your time. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys what you came for. All right, so first I want you guys to watch this little video because I want you to see just how seriously automation is when people think it's just a hapstance.
During World War II, America used to put a pigeon inside its missile. This was not a normal pigeon, but it was given a unique training. Actually, there was a screen in front of this pigeon, and whenever a ship was seen on this screen, the pigeon would touch it with its beak. After that, it was given grains to eat, and in the greed for food, all the pigeons did this again and again. There was a wire attached to the beak of the pigeon, and whenever this wire touched the screen, the missile would change its direction. So, whenever an enemy ship was seen on the screen, the pigeon would touch it in the greed for food, and the missile would change its direction and go towards the enemy ship and blast.
How many of you have seen that video? Right?
Yeah, I knew about that before.
Right? It's kind of funny, right? That you're looking at very early stage automation, or at the time, how do you get a missile to hit a ship when there's no one there? I mean, the technology we have today, we take them for granted,
Yeah, without having a kamikaze on the plane.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Humans were literally torpedoing themselves. So we've come a long way from that. But the reason why I like to share that video is because look at the context, right? Automation, except the pigeon again and again was trying to get the seed, and a lot of pigeons died in the making of those reels. So how many of you here are doing commercial in your business by a show of hands? No commercial, Richard? You?
Small commercial.
Okay. How do you get your customer right now, my good sir?
My commercials come from 90% of my
Word of mouth?
referrals from people I know. I've just done 45 roofs that are customers from 18, 19 years ago. I kept a relationship. And it's when I go, I get mine from people that own personal homes that have commercial buildings. And say,
Okay.
Hey, I've got trouble. I can't get it solved. Can you do it? And I come out.
So networking, word of mouth, relationship, 18 years?
Get into a commercial without
Gotcha.
getting in the back door.
Because you said you even did this building at one point, right?
Yeah, I used to work on these buildings.
Gotcha. Okay. How about you, Richard? Do you do it at all?
Most of mine the past year or two have been referrals, word of mouth.
Okay.
Yeah, previously, the most was door knocking.
Okay.
Relationship, yeah, prospecting myself.
Oh, good for you. I love door knocking. I don't know. Some people don't like it. I love it.
Yeah, it's hot out there sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. The reason why I'm asking that is because, well, and as you guys see the logistics, this is our first time doing this here. They have a fixed projector. We're going to eventually figure out how to get the laptop to run some of this stuff. How many of you have ever heard of Apollo.io? You've used it? Share your insights. What is it? What do you use it for?
You can scrape leads, and then you can get their contact information to cold call them or send them an email.
Okay, wonderful. So guys, if you see what's behind in the image, this is actually Apollo. If you see the background of it, you can actually run a, that background doesn't match the one that I had for it, but when you go into Apollo, who's the person you're trying to reach on the commercial side? Property managers?
I do mostly residential.
Mostly residential? Okay. Like for you, you want to reach property managers, is that correct? Okay.
Especially is the biggest, yeah.
So in Apollo, when you go in, you type property manager, you then say Florida, and it'll narrow down the band. I just did this for a gentleman in Maine, and it's in New Jersey and Maine. And it narrowed it down to 671. And of course, he was hoping it'd be thousands. Said, no, this is a lot if you put frequency to it, you know? So once we had the 671, and I know, Alexia, you can see where this is going, right? We put them in a list. We then added them to a sequence. And then we wrote a very nice template with a video, which nowadays with AI, you can change the words and make it match, the person's name, and they're getting a personalized video. And that is a cold email going out. What I say about email conversion, right? 0.005. That's not going to get what gets the ball rolling. It's when you start then doing the print and the voicemail drops, and you start calling them, and you start doing the roll-up, just show up at their door. I've done it. What I like about Apollo, and in case you guys didn't know, is that if I need Richard's mobile number, I'll go in there, and very likely about 85% of the time, it will give me his mobile number. And if I really want to meet Richard, I will roll up on his office, park in front of it, try to get in the gate. If I can, I'm calling him. And that's how I will meet Richard. Say, hey, Richard, I'm out here in front of your building. Just so you know, your folks are not letting me in. I've got some information you might need. And I really do have information for him. So, but what I found interesting when I went to Apollo, look what it says. This is their little tagline on their website. You share the revenue goal. What did I cover originally about the factor, right? What did I say the factor is, right? Literally, their little phrase line is, you share the revenue goal. They're literally saying, tell me your factor and I will give you your result, But, and I've talked to Dimitri about this. He says, sometimes we gotta not make things complicated because we're all so busy nowadays, we wanna keep it simple. I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to keep it simple, but if I use words that don't have the context anymore, then we're not even gonna understand each other. And this is proof of that. You share the revenue goal. What does that even mean, What it really says is, you tell me the factor that you want, and I will give you the result that you're looking for. So for any of you that are not doing commercial, and Daniel knows this, right? We had a conversation about that. What market are you in? Who are you trying to reach? Or in the case of Victoria, right? Who is your intended target? Put that in there, add it to a sequence, start the email automations. It does the voicemail drops. It queues the phone calls. And look, that's not me who you're paying for any of that. I'm just saying Apollo, $100 a month for the level of access that, for me, gives me API access. For the average person, it's $50. There's a free version, so you don't even have to pay for it if you just need to get some, some prospects for yourself, like the gentleman was saying, right? So, Reonomy, who has used Reonomy? Nobody here uses Reonomy? Wow. Okay, you sort of have to get on Reonomy. What you do? Yeah. Because Reonomy has everything I just said about Apollo, but now it's literally the building data along with the contact data. So I actually connect the two, and now when I call this building, I know who actually owns it, not the property manager, I'm talking to the property manager, and I'm literally sending communications to the actual ownership entity, and getting their mobile numbers. And sometimes they freak out. They're like, how'd you get my number? I'm like, well, it's out there.
I might be using because that's what we've been nailing quick into a campaign right now.
Yeah. So again, look, see again, that's why I wrote this at the bottom. They're literally telling you, tell me the factor and you'll get that. Next slide, Monica, please. So look at this slide right here. Go to Apollo, you do a search, you save, you name the list and you name it, you save it, and look, everything's matching up with what I've been telling you. 4,800 roofing contractor person emails. What do we say is the conversion factor? The factor, 0.005. So I'm expecting no more than 24 people to become relationships. And guess what? That's exactly what's happening. I've got 24 people that have reached out. They're even popping up on my radar that they say they want to engage, you know? It's simple math, guys. So what I love about it, though, is that it can be influenced. Create the sequence, right, that sends the, here's what I love about Apollo and also what I call the limitation. If you guys haven't received one of these already, you will, because you can see how many are, see right there, 2,990, right? The response rate, I'm actually slowing it down because if I go full throttle, I'm going to have too many people to talk to, and that can be a problem. Notice, look what I did. I set up A, B, and then as soon as I saw this one was doing better than the other, I turned off the other one, right? Trying to stay below the spam and all that stuff that they do. The second event in the sequence, it sends a connection request to LinkedIn, and it has a message and it has a video that I attached to it. You know? And ask me what I'm using, Alexia, when we're done with this. I'm giving everything away, okay? You guys can take it all, okay? Apollo is integrated with Vidyard. Have you ever heard of that? You've heard of Loom, right? Yeah, and you've heard of Vimeo. See, this is what I can't stand. There's products out there that do such a good job at marketing, but they're not doing shit for the actual user, right? That's what pisses me off. That's what this stuff gets personal. Apollo says, the email can have a video from Vidyard. So there I go chasing Vidyard, and I'm expecting, you know, some upsell, whatever. No, they said you can load up to 20 videos for free. And I'm like, oh, vidyard.com?
Like Vineyard.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying it just, if I say vineyard, then yeah, the spelling goes out. But it is amazing because you can upload the number of videos if you have the Apollo account and not even have to pay for it, you know? So I'm like, why? Who's going to tell people this stuff, you know? So, and they're $100 a month. So as long as you don't go past the 10 videos of you talking in a message, how many messages are you going to say, right? To how many people? If you're doing more than that, pay them, you know? But what I love about it, check it out. This email, and by the way, we're going to add you guys to the sequence and send it after this. So you guys will see it in the next 24, 48, maybe a couple of days, so you can see what those look like. But look at what it says: cost-cutting news, ratings, roofing insights. There's a video of Dimitri talking, and you know all the stats are being collected and everything. If you click on it, and obviously it's on, you know, from where you're visiting, we're collecting all that data. But most importantly is that what happens here with this event, it sends a different video, and again, all of it through video that I have it connected. It asks for a LinkedIn connection request, and it's just amazing, you know. How many of you guys here, well, we're going to get to that part, but how many of you here, I don't want to get into personal stuff, but how many of you wished you had more money available from your banks to make your business scale faster, right? It almost seems like right, common sense. Well, this sequencing of stuff can also trigger that. I've got literally private capital. If you guys haven't heard the word credit facility, you're going to have that information by the time you leave today. Lining up saying, how much do you need? How much do you need? How much do you need? You know? Because there's people out there that want to engage, they just don't have, they're not using the factor to reach out. So look at the third part, semi-automatic phone calls. Did you guys know that Apollo has an auto dialer? That if you, watch the sequence, you send an automatic email, right, to a property manager you're trying to meet, then you send the connect request to LinkedIn, and they decide to connect, and again, you send them a couple videos, you see the engagement, and they haven't called you. But then the third sequence is a phone call, which if you push the button, it'll dial from a number that's attached, so it's not even your direct line, but it'll connect your phone will ring. You grab your phone, and their phone rings. And if they don't answer, it leaves a voicemail drop right into their, and if you guys want to know how I do it, use Audacity, record yourself, lower the pitch, you know, because you don't want to sound too enthusiastic. Lower the pitch, clean it up, and then upload it. I've seen too many people try to do that with the actual recording, and I can tell in their voice the stuttering or the delays and stuff. You don't want to do any of that. So what are we doing again? Influencing the factor, guys. Control your own destiny. You know, seriously. Let's go to the next one. So it's all cool, but what I don't like about it, it's semi-auto. You got to do it. You got to go in there and do that stuff. I like full automation. You know, let's just make that thing, you know, the way to go. So Have you guys ever heard the phrase robotic process automation? Okay, whoever here has had money problems, please write that word down, Google it. You're gonna love this if you're not already using it, Robotic process automation is the precursor to AI, because remember I told you I was gonna cover AI for you guys. For those of you that don't know, Google algorithm is certain scripted code with directives to give you an output or a result. AI is neural-based, okay? So if you look at the human brain, our brain, as little as we use it sometimes, as people have said, has 1,000,000% in terms of synaptic capability. AI right now is only doing about 1% of that synaptic capability. People think it's amazing. I'm like, y'all have no idea what's coming, Have you guys ever heard of have you seen the phrase STR? So it's the next wave of AI that's coming in, that literally the AI itself is running its own models to, it's gonna take that 1% very high. That's the stuff that's scaring Elon Musk, Robotic process automation, automate what you do. Look at the background image that I'm showing you right there. We're gonna go into that. How many people here have used make.com? Okay, yes, got one. Late node?
Got here?
Okay, so make.com, late node, 80% cheaper than make.com. So take that with you, exactly the same, 80% cheaper, okay? So make.com, go ahead. I'm gonna walk you guys through it, right? They put this on their site, business growth automated, right? You guys are here. There's a free account, and then there's a paid version. The free account, you got enough automations for what you want to do. Okay? Oh, one of yours popped in. Okay, so watch what I'm going to show you guys. At late node or make.com, go in there and you drag the Apollo object. Remember I just told you, right, how you don't want to do this manually. I mean, why not automate it for your clients, right? Stop that manual stuff. So you drop the Apollo module, you put in your API key, which is very simple. Everybody nowadays knows how to do that. You go to integrations, grab the key, plop it in there. And then look at what I did here. And I'm just keeping it simple. Guys, I've got some of these that are like, rivers of automations, okay? When Apollo automatic email and when LinkedIn connection request sent, send text message to Mike saying, hey, Mike, I'm going to call you. Open phone, pull his number up, And this is semi-auto, This is basically, this is what I was calling you that day. She's up in Jacksonville, by the way. That's why I was like, when are you going to get down here? I got something to show you. I know we have busy lives, but sometimes, and there's a lot of bullshit out there. That's what I understand why things are the way they are. Look at this one. How many of you here, again, door knock? You said you door knock, right?
Yeah, I haven't so much lately. I've been a little busy for that, but.
Gotcha. And you network, right?
Yeah.
This automation you see here, for any of those of you that are going to go to RoofCon, I'm going to actually have this thing activated when I'm there. As I walk or drive towards the place, my phone has these automations, and it'll start pinging. It'll start grabbing all you guys and sending you messages because I'm walking past you. Look at this. When in your car and when driving past a commercial property, send a text message to the PM company. I have his mobile, right? Remember, Apollo? And add an event to Google. This young lady that you're seeing right here, you got to test things first before you do things automated. She actually, I would be in my car and she would be manually entering all this stuff. Talk about the pigeon. We were the pigeons initially, And at one point she goes, just so you know, that's very exhausting. I'm like, it is. Thank you, Monica. We love you for that, because at the time she didn't know where we were going with it, but neither did I, honestly, because I was like, I'm just theorizing. It might work, it might not work, But look at what happened here. Look, if you guys have Google, there's your KT Google Maps, get your key. A lot of times Google's a massive thing, so it'll give you the key, doesn't even charge you for the basic use that most people need. Once you add that and connect it to make.com and you've got it on your phone, if you're driving somewhere, it'll do that for you. And I'm just showing you one possibility. You could literally pull up any kind of prospect, anyone that you want to engage with. If you haven't done that yet, right, because you're in make.com, did you see this before? This piece?
Not on this, using it this way.
Thank you. I appreciate that, because I'm trying to give you guys something that I just see it's sorely needed. guys, look, here's what I do. I grab all the stuff that I see on social media, I run it through a filter, I extract its message content, and I'm looking for stuff like this, and it comes back at 0.0 every time, you know? So, and if you're wondering how I'm doing it, I'm actually using 5 of the AI engines to process the data, and I'm getting the result, and there's nothing out there, you know? Which is a shame because supposedly there's services out there, but I don't like hearing that this gentleman, you know, struggles, or that this gentleman, you know, doesn't know this stuff, right? Or that no one has made you aware of this, okay? So, Monica, next one. This one's easy. This one's actually fun, you know? Social media automation. When an adjustment begins and when photo loaded, send image and AI comments to profiles and write a blog post on your website. How many people do this manually right now? Or at all? Or you get paid to do it because, you know, they're like, I ain't got time for that, you know? So, Monica, next slide, please. So let's do this. Let's begin this with plain and simple. Write down the instructions, guys. Go to Google Sheets and make a spreadsheet, whatever you want to call it. Add your URLs of the content that you want, okay? Like it could be blog posts or news. And if you're doing it manually and you don't want to do it manually, you go to feedly.com, tell it you want roofing news, and then it'll give them to you, all the URLs of everything that happened that week, that month, that year. And then you can tell it to populate the spreadsheet, or just, we're using Make, plug in Feedly, have it pull all the URLs, and there you go. So I did this just generically, just for this demo. I loaded 8 of our blog posts, and look at this. Watch what I'm showing you guys. I know that Igor told me to stay on the left side, so over there, we know those little laser things, don't we? Yeah, so KT Google Sheets Content Social, okay? It's just my connection, it's my API key, I uploaded the key. How many of you have heard of Perplexity? Okay, how many of you have heard of ChatGPT? Right, okay, a lot of people have heard of Chat. Okay, well, Perplexity is another variant of ChatGPT. It's just specific to articles, news, journalism, you know? So what I told Perplexity is, grab that URL and pull the story, you know, pull the article. And that's exactly what Perplexity did. And then I connected to a router, and look what here, connect Google Sheets to artificial intelligence to automatically read the URL, extract the content. And look, the router, the first one goes to Claude. Claude, go ahead, brother, take a picture. Claude grabs that article, and I told it in my instructions, make sure you make it, as you can see right there, you know, I want you to make it, how did I write down here? You know, unique for Facebook. Facebook has a different audience than LinkedIn, right? So I went ahead and said, make it this way. As soon as you're done with it, go ahead and post it to Facebook. So it'll post a comment entry blog post from me based on what I told it to do based on the criteria, okay? Now, Instagram. You guys know Instagram is more trendy, right? More hypey and stuff. So here I said, okay, do the same thing. Look at the article, ChatGPT. Go ahead and process it, but give me an AI image of the article of what I'm talking about. And again, I wish I would have had the laptop. I would have shown you guys all these images. And go ahead and post it to Instagram. X, you see right there it says Twitter. They have, I did this originally with ChatGPT. They have Grok, so now I'm actually removing ChatGPT and adding Grok, so it's their own engine, you know? I'm telling Grok, go ahead and grab it. You guys talk sassy and piffy anyway. Go ahead and read this article and go ahead and post to X, okay? Same thing down below for LinkedIn. We're back to Anthropic, which is Claude. And we're saying for LinkedIn, make sure you give me a, you know, more mature tone article, and let's go ahead and post that one, okay? So once you turn this on and you have a source, like I said, from Feedly, there you go, your social media posting is taken care of. Now, do you want to go read some of the stuff before you could put in a manual review, of course, you know, but everything, the more specific the instructions said, the more likely that it's going to get active. If I just say, give me a woman riding horses in Jacksonville, Florida, it's going to give me whatever I want. But if I say, give me a woman wearing brown boots that has blue jeans with brown hair and she's about 35 years old, I give it all that parameters and boom, here it comes, you know, specific to that, okay? So now you guys are understanding what we've done. We, Knowledge Transfer, created Radiant ZRP. There's around 1,600 applications out there, and I see contractors paying for 20, 30, 40, 50 different apps, trying to get people to use them, trying to get stuff, and I'm going, that's insane, the amount of, BS really, what it comes down to. So what we did, we said, let's grab all 1,600 of them and integrate them, That's why even Dimitri said, if you guys saw his comment, he said, I'm surprised more people haven't heard of this and stuff. It's like, no, because everyone else is trying to get you to switch to them. To me, I'm going, okay, what do you use? Job Nimbus? Okay, what is it not doing? Go ahead and stay with Job Nimbus, connect with us. We'll automate that which you can't get the other stuff to do. Look at what I put here. Let me just give you a ridiculous example. Say you're using AccuLinks and you're running stuff, but you need Zeus weather data to send campaigns to people in the damage zone, but you want to make sure you order materials from SRS and Beacon at the best price, and you want to use CallRail to know when someone is calling you. At the same time, you want to make sure that you're doing geo campaigns as well. Now Make doesn't do that. We do. You can try to figure it out and wire it up manually. That's what it says. Do it yourself or do it with Radiance. But you're seeing right examples. Automate to Job Nimbus, connect to AccuLinks, post to Roofing Insights, pull from D&B, fund your projects through Blue Octopus, ask anything of AI, send photos to Ethereum, report invoice payments, Cool? So now let's talk about the money. I don't have a stat, but I know it's a lot. I know a lot of businesses, whether it's a contracting business or adjusting businesses, and I don't know if you want to share some of those insights, a lot of consulting businesses, right? They are either running it on their own personal credit, right? Or they're bootstrapping it, hoping that eventually they'll scale. So one of the things that we did, go ahead and change the slide, Monica, is that we noticed that a lot of folks are operating here in tier 1, invoice credit. It's basic vendor and the most accessible. You've seen it, it's the famous, net 30, 21030, net 45, right? And I've also seen very good people, that's one of the reasons I'm doing this, guys, go out of business because they would rely on that 30, 45-day credit, right? They would rack up $200,000 with the supplier, and then they couldn't make a payment, and all of a sudden, boom, the account is frozen. And now you got to pay the full sum, and you're dead in the water. And I've seen too many good people go out of business because of that. And it's really because the information hasn't been passed on to them, that what they're really in is called tier 1. Look what I said at the bottom, dangerous in the long run. Great if you just started, but you stay there any more than 6 months in a year, and you become complacent or you're just not aware. Okay, so do the next one. I'm sorry, but I call this one the Temu credit, because you've seen those slides on social media, how they do Temu this, Temu that. I had to throw it in there. If someone gets a Lowe's credit card, but it's from Lowe's, it's not Amex Visa, it's not really a credit card. It's actually still invoice, vendor credit. Who knows about it? Nobody. See? When you pay your invoices, who knows about it? You've been around for years, Nobody knows that you pay on time, All those relationships that you built, put a lot of sweat, into them, nobody knows that you pay on time, And this is the part that, again, drives me crazy. We're supposed to be services and helping people, right? But no, we're not, because you're missing pieces, If Alexia does, marketing, consulting and stuff, and even if she gets a customer to blow up and do all this and nobody makes her aware of this, then I don't think whoever your banker, your provider is doing you the right service. So Temu Credit, BP Fleet, non-Visa, non-bank, it's no different than tier 1. And if you got them, all it is you're supposed to be reporting this stuff so that you can actually get out of that. Go ahead. You don't actually arrive until you get to tier 3. I had the pleasure of doing that for Dania recently, that she called me. She says, I need to get a Rio card, and boom. How long did it take us to do that? 45 minutes. In 45 minutes, she had a unlimited Amex, business, And she's like, wow, I didn't know you could do that. I'm like, yeah, well, information, You've arrived, what I mean by you've arrived, something about what you've done or doing is you're doing it right. and nobody knows about it. So we need to start making sure that that gets reported. So if you have a business loan, hopefully it's not the ACH type. You should never do those kind of loans. If you have bank lines of credit, always a line of credit, not a loan, okay? Keep that in mind. And if you're going to have any kind of credit card, I'll tell you guys right now, if you guys have your utility and your cards maxed out in the personal, set up the business, transfer it over there, get your personal one back down to, nice numbers, keep it on the business side. It doesn't get treated the same way, because a lot of what you're going to borrow from the manufacturers and stuff is going to be based on that personal score. So get it all off of there. You don't need that there. So tier 4. Now this right here, guys, I'm going to give you guys a very big present, okay? You guys saw that our event's being filmed by Roofing Insights. 6-7 months ago, I initiated an outreach to meet Dimitri because, he had his event, right, and paid VIP, and there he was, and everybody swarming around, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to, if I could do this, that'll be the end of the night, But what did I just show you guys? Systems, automations, processes, right, the way I do things. So while most people are trying to do the outreach, I've got certain systems that are tagging and making sure certain things are landing in some place. The bottom line, by the end of that night, his people were looking for me. We met. He's busy. Then he had that fight, with Lehigh. So I was like, let me not get in his way for that. And one day he calls me and he flies in and we sit down. And I said, I'm going to say a few words. If you've heard him before, then please tell me. If you haven't heard him, please be honest, because you're going to open up the torrent of information that I have to share for you. But if you already know it, then I'll shut up. Tell me when to shut up. I know how to listen. So what I came to realize was that Dimitri has built an audience, which is the contractors. But if we're really going to help the contractors community, which I call the middle class in America, then you have to put the whole picture together. They need funding. Homeowners need loans that don't have dealer fees baked into them. Contractors need, borrowing for their homeowners without them getting saddled with dealer fees, which the way they're doing it is through the UCC, because that's how they get you, because you can't do it through the consumer side, Dimitri is trying to set up directory vetted contractors. Is it perfect? What is, right? I mean, look at Angie's List, look at BBB. You've got those scenarios. The idea is to try to set up what I love about directory is that it's got that guarantee, you messed up, it'll come and cover you. Nobody else has done that. He's taking on that risk. I don't care what we look and perceive in comments and all that, because everybody has opinions. Who else has done that, And it's like, wow, that's very, very interesting, risk and all the things that go with it, risk reward. Then there's our software. I cannot stand how a contractor will borrow money, right, because they're going off your financials, and then you get the money and you just got to pay it back, right? To me, I'm thinking, what if when this gentleman borrowed money and he used it on 17 different roofing projects, I knew exactly what projects it's being used on, exactly what stage that job is in, and knowing exactly when Richard is going to get paid, right? So I know when I got to give him more money, And most people have said, you can do that? I'm like, yeah, with Radiance? Yeah, that's why we designed it. So Dimitri, tier 4, look, letters of credit. We're not talking about lines of credit. Lines of credit is you got yourself a line, you got some money, use it, draw it down, whatever. Letters of credit is where somebody gives you $1 million and they never move the penny from their account, okay? It stays with them. They just give you a letter of credit that you then deposit at your bank, build your relationship. You got to mess up your credit before you start to lose their money, And why would anyone give you this? Because of the reporting that I'm talking about. If no one knows about your payment history, no, you're not going to get one of those. But if you understand reporting, and if we can automate it, then yes, you can. If you've been paying for the last 12 years what you're doing, like that, I can have people ready to write you checks. And if you guys have any doubts, ask Dimitri, He literally calls me now and he says, how much? And I'm like, this, and this. Which one do you want? He's like, how the hell do you do this? I'm like, well, we're getting to know each other, That's why I call the company knowledge transfer. Whatever the reason, that's how my brain works. It is how it is. It's not perfect. I'm not that smart, actually. I get lost in my own subdivision, so you guys know, okay? It's not smart. It's just Tetris mindset, So Letters of credit is by far one of those things that you can get at Tier 4. See what I put right there? Credit facility, the holy grail of money. Watch this. Walmart. If you look at their balance sheet, they have $50 billion in the bank, you know? But they have a $40 billion credit facility. Now, why would they not use their own money? How many here are in business that they will say, well, I don't want to borrow, I just want to use my own money, I don't want to take on debt? Why does, Richard, you can answer that one, right? Why doesn't Walmart use their $50 billion instead of using $40 billion from a credit facility and pay interest?
Why don't they use their own?
Yeah.
Oh, it makes less sense to use your own money than to use someone else's money.
Yeah.
Taxes too?
Huh?
Taxability will be different too?
Oh, hey, there's something way more on the line. You ready for it? This is, I love this because this is, again, the human experience. The real reason is that if I'm Walmart, I'm the CEO of Walmart, and I use my money, the minute I do it, and here's the CEO at Target, I'm putting in a bid to take over Walmart because their stock just took a hit. You see what I mean? Apple has 50 billion. Microsoft has 50 billion. They don't touch their balance sheet because that's how they become vulnerable. So for all of you out here that have ever said, I just use my own, there's a wonderful man named Jeff, I won't say which company he's with, I love him to death, and he literally is like, yeah, I won't take on debt, I'm not using debt. I'm like, it's not about taking on debt. It's about understanding how it works, you know, when you're reporting. That man has so much character, I could get him 10 million just because of the way he operates his business. He's that good. But nobody knows about it, you know. He's not registered anywhere. And obviously, if he's debt averse, you know, I like Dave Ramsey, but I don't know if that matches at all with the mindset, you know. You're not understanding how to use those things. So that's exactly it. If they use their money, right, they've now become vulnerable. Their balance sheets, literally you could be taken over by your competitor, you know. That's why they have so much money in the bank, these companies, you know. They're not trying to let someone come in and take their spot. So why do you think I put that? The Holy Grail. Now, without too much information, probably by September 5th or so, I have one entity contractor business that is about to receive a $1 million credit facility. And here's what's beautiful about it. It has no expiration period, just a quarterly review of numbers. It is tied to growth, so it can go to 50 million, you know. And for anyone that buys materials from SRS or, you know, any of those companies, how cool that you can shut down all that 30-day invoice, you know, 45-day invoice nonsense. You determine your best price based on your own facility. So all I said to that person is I said, grab the factor, fine-tune your outreach, okay? Go ahead and put in some automation, either yourselves or through our company, doesn't really matter, just make sure you do it, and then go ahead and start the reporting process. Monica, when I first started doing this, I said, Monica, we need to figure out how to report these guys to Business Experian and to Dun & Bradstreet, you know? We were doing it manually, you know? Once I finally got those people's attention, I said, I need API keys, you know? So now I'm calling their objects so I can send the data. And when I'm sending the data to them and it's updating there, now I'm sending it to these people that have money. Money is out there that wants to give you money, but if they don't know anything about you, right? Like how many people here have a DNB number at all? See? And if you have a number, how many of you actually have the lines or even a credit facility tied to it, you know? So, because here's where it's going. If you get to Tier 4, you got the letter of credit, you got the credit facility, these guys start noticing, you know? The VCs and private equity, they take notice. Or like a wonderful conversation I had with some investment bankers when I did a luncheon. The guy said, he said, and didn't use these exact words, but I like to think it's what it meant. He said, the reason I don't fuck with contractors is because if I get them market ready, meaning do all this, banks will come in and give them money and then they won't sell me the business the way I want to buy it, you know? So there you go. That's why you don't get approached by that, but it's not because you're not viable, it's because once you pop up on the radar, you know, you're gonna take the cheaper alternative. Why sell your company for 8 million, they can turn into 50 million, when you can borrow 4 and run your business. Get the 4 to go to credit facility, you'll never have to borrow again, you know? Private placements, I don't know if you saw that. That's what Roofing Insights is doing. Private placement, 506. It's a $100 million fund to be about a $1 billion fund. So when you need to fund a job, the money's there to fund the job. That way you don't have to be hostage to insurance payments or 30-day nets or none of that other nonsense, you know? So seed and Series A, that gets into the end of the pool, the super end of the pool. Monica, switch. So look, again, trade credit reporting, automated or manual. If you guys are not on D&B, get set up, you know, get set up. It allows you to actually request trade references from people that you do business with, build up your report, connect your bank to it, and right away, you're gonna start seeing offers coming in, you know? It's just the way it works, you know? If you wanna just update your profile and then go have one-on-one meetings or use Apollo to get in front of some people that want to do business with you, you can literally self-fund yourself because you've got that. And when they start saying, well, we're gonna give you this much money, but we wanna see growth. Okay, Raul said factor. Let me go line up the factor, you know, because you need to put the factor in. And I don't want to spend on too many personnel, so I'm going to automate some of this, right? This is resonating.
I got a pretty awkward experience with DMV because usually what we do is running everything on the credit card, and before the cut day we paid it off. I realized that this number was not moving for like a year, so I contacted them. I was like, look our behavior. We spend thousands of dollars and this is not moving. We're still showing like bad credit.
Yeah.
So the lady tells me, oh no, yeah, it's because you're paying it off. It's not registering when we cut the month here on DMV. That doesn't make sense at all. So yeah, at that point we decided to leave some money like owed for a couple of months, so it was showing, and indeed it actually changed after that.
Watch this. And Jesse's back there. He's a testament to this. When I told people that they were going to pay for our software, I told them to pay weekly. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, grab the bill, break it up into weekly. They're like, isn't it the same thing? I'm like, no, because I can now tell the bureaus that you're actually paying early. You're paying in advance, and I'm carrying a balance. So I did both in one. I do it that way. Take whatever you're paying, break it up into 4 parts, and you have the printout that you can always send to DB to update if they're not listening on the other side.
But at that point, you're going to be paying interest for that money, right?
Say that part again?
You're going to be paying interest for that money because now you're not paying it before the cut date.
Oh, I'm talking about invoices. Like when someone gets an invoice, and they say they give you so much time, I always say pay that same sum in 4 different parts. That way you're reporting early payment. You know, it's a very strategic way to do it, but you've got the history. You can prove it. I can pull up some of the contractors that I've signed up, and if they ever need a reference, my contract for that kind of service is 5 years. So I grab the total credit line. I say that they're current because they are. They're actually ahead, you know. And then I say they've paid this much and they get the highest marking. You know, don't ever. And again, guys, it's just the way information gets distributed. When you guys hear those 2 1030s, yeah, pay the invoice early, get a 2% discount. Why do I need a 2% discount from you on a 36% yield when I can go ahead and start paying it early, report it, and get myself $1 million credit facility that I don't ever have to be at the mercy of your invoice, you know? Why, you know what I mean? It's just nonsense, the way things get put together. So here we're looking at automation, when you pay an invoice, when trade is with Beacon, when you pay PNC, when you have Dun & Bradstreet, all these things should be getting reported and sent in for you. Go ahead, Monica. And again, do it yourself or use SMB Accelerator. SMB is there's technology incubators and stuff, and I call it an accelerator because I can talk to someone like Alex here, I can talk to this gentleman back there, and we can sit down with you and say, look, what is it that you're doing? What are you trying to do? What do you need? Okay, you don't need us yet. You're not ready for us, but here's everything you need to get where you're going, you know? With Radiance, if you're a small contractor, then obviously you need certain things to get going. Here you go, here's resources. If a contractor calls me, like one we signed up recently, yeah, we're in 8 states, we have 10 offices, and you want automation? Yep, we want you to do all this stuff that you do, you know, for all our offices. And we're on AccuLinks, by the way. I'm like, okay, stay on AccuLinks, we'll handle everything else, you know? So small business, large business, Radiance ERP is designed for that. SMB is, that's outside of software. That's what are you trying to accomplish? meeting Richard, meeting this gentleman right here, right, with all those years that you've been doing what you're doing, I don't like seeing guys putting what I call the veterans, once you go past that 10, 15-year mark and doing something, you should not still be looking for opportunity or as I call it, the daily hustle, It should be the net result of that. So if you don't have credit facilities, as many years as you've been in, you have been ill-advised, information withheld. Same here. If you, even the most successful roofing company, for example, that says, yeah, we got 3 offices, we're a 20, I keep hearing that a lot, we're a $20 million company. And I always say, is that revenue? Is that, market cap? Because, right, we hear those numbers a lot. I'm like, what's the market cap, And is that really the value? Oh, no, we sold 20 million. Okay, so you're not a $20 million company, How would you like a $20 million line, credit facility, so that you can be a true net EBITDA-based 20 million valuation company, Notice what we did, guys, right? How did this thing start? I started with a very boring thing showing you an email factor, right, to get people to respond to your email. Then we spoke about sending out a print campaign. We wrapped up the factor to say, this is how you make your numbers, and I have a marketing person here saying, yep, that's exactly what we're trying to do. I then grabbed that information and I said, okay, here's how you automate it with these tools. That's not even us as a service. Go do what you need to do. Keep it as low cost as possible. When you need something of scale, then obviously we can talk about that. Then we said, what are you doing it all for, right? Let's say that you went out or like you, for example, that you're using Make, right? And you got those automations. If I then go to you and I say, where's your relationship? Where's your relationship banker? Oh, I don't have one, I just deposit, There we go. Write it down like this, guys. I call it the trident. You need to have all 3. You need sales, you need accounts receivable, and you need credit. But when I mean credit, I'm talking about your own. Fund yourself, Be the one that gives yourself your own capital, all right? So that's, you guys have seen it. HVAC businesses, they have maintenance plans, right? They tell the homeowner, pay me this much. And I like this, that's why they keep getting bought out by the big players, They just see it as a way to pay the bills. I'm like, where's this all being reported? Where's your, ARR? Where's your MRR? What are you talking about? Well, you have monthly recurring revenue. Where are you reporting this? Where's your relationship? How much has this turned into, money that you can use? Oh, no, I just, I didn't know that, So your banker's not telling you what you need to know, right? So it's like, then what do you have them for? Fire them left and right. Get yourself real ones, In the day of information, you can send out an email to 20 people and say, tell me something I don't know, and maybe we'll do business. Start the email or the text message like that. Tell me something I don't know, and then maybe you can have my business, Because we get enough solicitations from everything, right? But we don't get really the value that we're asking for. And that's why you guys saw when you came in for SMB, it says, the known knowns, right? We know how to tie our shoes. We know how to do all that. The known unknowns is, I want to learn how to be a programmer. Let me go to school for it. But the unknown unknowns are stuff that can go right in front of you, and you'll never know it because you're not even looking for it. You're not even aware it exists, Right now, there's 5 AI engines out there that are at the core. I just told you guys that, it's going to obviously be going up a level. All of that can be connected to everything that you're using right now, if you're not using it, and it's not a matter of, let me go find more platforms to do it with. No, you can actually connect it a lot simpler than you think. If you just use some of the stuff that I mentioned here, you can actually connect it this evening when you guys get back home, And I'm literally boasting about Make.com because it's one of the easiest interfaces to use. Get in there, set up the free account, especially with the trial, it gives you a lot of the powers. Connect your stuff, follow the guide, and just make yourself a simple automation, Something real simple. And what do I need to get? Who do I need to reach? Okay, Raul said Apollo. Let me go ahead and look into Apollo. Oh, this is cool. I can see why he said that. Use that and then just start to implement it into your business. And then again, you got the automation, you understand the factor. Now how do I turn this into money for my business? Or then what are we waking up every day for then? Seriously. The constant hustle has to stop. Everybody's burning out. Right? Yeah. So questions, guys. I'm going to go ahead and shut up now. Let you guys ask. Please ask them, and there is no wrong, right question. You already know this. A lot of these type of events, people are thinking a lot. but they don't ask questions, please ask anything that can come to mind. And you might be surprised. What you ask might trigger a thought in someone else. That's why I like to hear questions. Thank you, Igor.
Middle school of my dad, if you don't have the money, you don't buy it.
Mhm.
And a long time that way, I've been always funding myself, and I did turn around and, hey, how come my son's got better credit than me? He works for me, yeah, my credit's horrible, it's because I pay right away. I hate owing money, and I discover that's why I don't have good credit. So I started that, getting loans, paying off, still early, but paying them off, and boom, got great credit now because of that.
Right. How many years?
School.
How many years have you been in business?
I've been up here 25 years, but our family's been in Florida for over 40 years. I've been roofing over 40 years.
Wow. God bless you, brother. 25 years.
Yeah.
You know, got to get 25 years doing something. You got to be good at it. Otherwise, you would have already exited, right? I mean, that's a long time. Anyone else have any? Dania?
Who do you like to use?
Oh yeah, that's the microphones.
Do you like to use Apollo for the retention AI or that kind of a marketing plan, or do you like to use something different?
Wonderful question. See, this is what I said, guys. Ask the questions. So Apollo is acquisition. You know, you're reaching out to introduce yourself to people, and they're just seeing you come across. So it's on the acquisition side. If you have any relationships, and guys, it could be as 10, 12 people that you just say, these people I have a relationship with, you put them, you can do this literally even on Gmail, make 12 templates and just, regularly send it to them in a little quick sequence. If you want to keep it real simple. So retention is maintain the communication with the person regardless of the status of the business engagement, okay? So like Alexia right now, for example, I just met her today, right? If I start sending her, hi, look, we're doing this, I don't care if she doesn't show up in 3 years. 3 years from now, so yeah, I've been keeping up with your information. Or if she's a customer, right? And she says one day, you know what, we outgrew ourselves, we got bought out, we're gone. Then you continue the communications and the relationships, because somewhere down the line, she's gonna say, oh, you know what, someone asked me, let me go ahead and send it over. Top of mind, stay relevant is really what it's about. If you can write anything down in your notes, communications frequency. It literally is the only thing that's out there now that's left that will make you unique, because in a world of so many variables, right? We can say right now, for example, Morgan & Morgan, and everybody knows what I'm talking about, right? Because what do? They advertise a lot, right? But if your name comes up once, people literally have to go to the back of their mind and be like, yeah, I think I've heard of them at some point. I'm trying to remember where, So apply frequency. If you have that, that's where the retention comes in.
So would you say that would be something like MailChimp? Or, like if you want to say birthdays, Labor Day is coming up,
Yeah.
every year when my license renews, hey, my license is renewed, what is the best platform?
You can use, if you're using MailChimp and you use the free version, I think it lets you have like 500 contacts. If you got 500 people that you're constantly communicating with them, you've got enough. Again, I'm talking to the individual, not a company, If you're using Constant Contact, throw them up against each other, How many contacts can I have and how many can I send? 10,000, that's a lot of emails if you're trying to just maintain relationships. That's one account, If you're gonna do outbound outreach, like here, I have one in Apollo for 50,000 contractors nationwide. That I'm using SendGrid, because I need the engine of SendGrid to send all 50,000 of them all at the same time. That's a different type of outreach. If you guys haven't used SendGrid, it does texting and email for you and at scale. And you guys want to know how much I pay? Who can guess how much I pay SendGrid to send out 50,000 per month? You would know this. How much?
Like 1,500?
38 bucks.
38 bucks.
Mm-hmm. $38.
Like $700 on Go High Level.
That's 2 platforms I already told you to switch, in this one sitting, So yeah, again, guys, just a little bit, and you'd be surprised if you reach out to some of those platforms and you say, what are you going to show me that I have that it's going to make the difference, or how are you going to give me the value in a sea of options? Use words like that. You'll see how quickly they come with their best offer. Because they want the monthly recurring revenue that you give them. Every single one of you that's paying per user. By the way, our products are unlimited users. We don't charge per user, but every other platform that I see charges per user. Because they take that money you give them, $5, $38, whatever, and they turn that into what I just said, credit facilities and monies and enrichment, financial enrichment, buying companies and competitors enrichment. So when you pay 38, like your $12 to Netflix, yeah, that's a ton of MRR. You ever seen some of the platforms they try to convince you to switch to annual? That's because ARR is more valuable than MRR. 10x. A relationship will lend 10 times as much if it's ARR as opposed to MRR.
That's what they give you 2 months for free.
Yeah, and people gobble it up. You got to ask why sometimes, SMB, this is why we exist. People literally come to us and they drop the bucket of questions like, I got 800 questions. And they leave with 790 of them answered, except for why their mom married who they married. We just can't figure that one out. So SMB is that what it is. It's an accelerator. Radiance just automates and integrates. Where CRM lets you interact with your customers, which you don't talk to after they gave you their money, Radiance automates and integrates to keep you frequent. Oh my God, these guys built my roof 3 years ago. They're still sending me messages, Well, I don't need a roof. No, but your neighbor does. The storm keeps coming in every now and then. Don't lose that, guys, seriously. And for those of you that are adjusters, or what do you do? What is it? You're in roofing? Who here is in something that's not roofing related? Sir?
Public adjuster.
Public adjuster. So you by far should have automation retention using the factor, in all you do. Because you are a misunderstood professional, People sometimes think, oh, well, if I give it to him, I'm going to give him 10% of something, and I'm going to get it anyways. Like, no, you've got an education journey, and how cool to make that your sequence. Write that down,
Yeah, so your goal is to replace acquisition with retention by manipulating the factors.
Yes, yes.
And so how long have you been working on automation?
About 7 years, yeah. And from an OCD perspective, that's 70 years in normal human time, because we really put this stuff to the test. I mean, you saw the pigeon video.
Yeah, and so the best way to get experience with automation is just to do it, right?
Yes.
Like, where did you learn all this stuff?
If I grab my phone right now, guys, and any of you are welcome to check, because I always say words have to match actions. If we scroll on my text messages all the way to 2017, you're going to see my original text messages when remember that scenario that I told you of the 624,000? At the time, I arrived at a subdivision, and a homeowner said, yes, inspect my roof. And I went in there, and I came out with a signed contract, and I'm like, this is great, but nobody knows about it. I'm like, I got to figure out a way to get word of mouth. But I didn't have money for a budget, trying to barely provide. So I was like, okay, so who did I talk to? I talked to 10 people. And I started literally manually sending out text messages. When we leave here, guys, you guys can go see my vehicle. All my cars have keyboards in them, and there's huge magnets that when I throw it, boom, it locks, Every room in my house is a keyboard. I mean, to me, it's just common sense, but it's OCD. Hi, homeowner, I did this. Oh, look, I just finished the neighbor. Just, again, communications frequency. And that's what creates that snowball effect. When I go into an area, once one person says yes, that's a video, that's a testimonial, that's my content to redistribute. Then the updates. I pulled permit, I got dumpster delivered, I'm building the roof, I built the roof, I warranted the roof, I fixed the broken screen. All that is just reasons to communicate. So in your case, that you don't just get it signed up and they get approved for right? How many stages are going on in between? That's what you need to automate when I say automation, Even you on the marketing side, you're marketing, you're getting results, but tell them what you're doing to get that result in as many pieces as you can, To chew a piece of food, it takes a certain number of times. That is a process, so why would we just say, oh yeah, I ate, Okay? Next question, please. These are good questions, by the way. Richard, I know you got one in there.
I don't. I actually have a couple of simple ones regarding the
Please.
replacement for make you mentioned. I just don't want to lose track of those
No.
Websites. So you mentioned that make, I could use a different option,
Yes.
which is,
Late node.
could you spell that for me?
Late, like being late, and
Late.
then node, N-O-D-E.
No, late node,
Yeah.
okay.
Latenode.com.
And you just mentioned another alternative for GA Shell 2, for Go High Level.
Which one was it that he said at the time? For Go High Level? I know what you're referring to when you mentioned it, and I mentioned it in the context of, well, some of the slides that I've shown on here, you've seen the commercial database that's like Apollo, but with real estate data. You've got Apollo for all pure B2B. And there's competitors. There's Seamless.ai, but it charges 3 times as much. I'm like, you don't need that. Apollo does a good enough job, you know? Let me try
When
to.
we were talking about go high level, we were talking about the automation of text messages and emails being blasted.
SendGrid. Yes.
SendGrid.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
I have a 50,000 send account, and it's $38 a month.
Do they call too? Can allow calling?
You're talking, for that one, go with Slide Broadcast.
Okay.
Slide Broadcast will let you do voicemail drops, so you don't even have to make the call.
Because what we started using this month, and we're still in a testing phase, but it's putting smiles on my face because we're having AI talking to these people, and they don't even know it's a robot.
Now check this out. Take that. If you're doing it with a platform, that's fine. But eventually, what you want to have, and just set it up. Go into OpenAI, set up your stuff, set up a key, start developing your own agent that you tell it how your business works specifically. So when you're answering stuff, you're not using some generic platform's version. It's you, your companies, your values, your ethics.
The one we're using, it kind of allows that. Is this called Bland? I don't know if you've seen it.
I've seen a lot of Nito.is, CS and stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of them.
It left me impressed. We're still testing it. It gets bugs here and there, but I see it's pretty promising.
Yeah. Remember the early chat boxes that they had the generic messages to piss everybody off? Or like, this thing doesn't even make sense, right? You would ask it a question, it would ask you the weirdest thing. That's changing very rapidly. So, and that's, I'm going to say something ridiculous that maybe would have been ridiculous 3 years ago. Now I say it and people chuckle, and as soon as they chuckle, they stop laughing because they think about it. As soon as the first robot comes off the assembly line that has an API key, I'm going to attach to it, and I'm going to have it go door knock and put door hangers up for me. And they're coming.
Of course.
So
They're already walking out there.
Yeah. So when you guys see a little robot going by, I'll put my picture in the back because you'll be like, that's Raul's bot, Yeah. Just to show you that this is how much things are changing. You got cars driving themselves. Guys, this is not, space age stuff. This is here already. And that's what a lot of us, because we're so busy every day, we don't get to see it. But it's very real, and a lot of people are going to get, wiped out, without having any fault, because automation is really, what did I do? I shared a pigeon video with you, right? And now you got AI agents, neuro-based, systems that are taking everything that we know to do, and then saying, you know what, we can actually make it better, and
Content writers are unemployed already.
Yeah. It gets real bad. You ready for this? Developers, code writers, people that write code, all those guys are going to go out of business. The IT sector, you'll if you nodded your head, right, you'll agree with this. The IT sector went through this when literally Steve Jobs went on stage and said, all you IT guys better get retrained as developers because you're about to be out of work. And a lot of people didn't listen, and sure enough, about 80% of them ended up being out of work because OOP came in, object-based programming, which is what we use. We on our side, we're developing, but now we can literally ask the agents, can you rewrite that code simpler, quicker and more efficient? And we thought we were smart, literally it comes back, use integer, simple integer instead of 256, use a smaller one, less storage on the database, less storage, less, processing on the kernel. And we're like, oh, why didn't we think of that? Maybe we didn't think of it because we just wasn't top of mind. But these things don't care, they just process. So yeah, you're gonna see a lot of transformations and stuff. So again, guys, anyone else have any questions? Alexia, I want to hear one from you. No? She's like, I'm not saying nada. This is about you guys. Remember, you came here, you gave me your time, so I'm giving you guys all these things that you could use.
Yeah, so I'm a small business, newer business. I've actually only had my company for about a year and a half. We did really well, had some storms last year. I'm big on branding. We're in an industry that most people are very leery of. There's been a lot, every week, Dimitri's got somebody on there for fans or scams, jail time, and et cetera. When we start talking about a lot of things that we're doing, we're taking a lot of the personal experience out of it, but obviously we're in a situation where things got to be adjusted. Door knockers are getting to be a little more leery of that. I don't door knock. I'm not a big fan of it, but it's effective. We've seen the effectiveness. I think this will help offset the ability to door knock in a lot of areas. But this also takes away a lot of the personal side of it because everything's so generic and self-generated that I like the idea earlier you were talking about how it seems like the communication is coming from an individual when it's not. But I also look at like ChatGPT. I hired a guy at one point to handle some of my marketing stuff. I started looking at my responses to Google reviews, and it was just like there was nothing personal about it. It was all ChatGPT related. I was like, all right, we got to stop this because I'm taking away from the personal side.
Yep.
And that person's probably looking at this response going, that doesn't fit in line with my experience.
I love exactly what you're saying because that's when we talk about lazy, you know. Some people, when I'm talking about these automations, they literally think it's going to do it for you and you just don't even bother. And people start, like when I start seeing level up, words like that in people's messages, I know they're using AI because no one talks that way, but now all of a sudden, all these entries have that language, and I know which engine is even giving them that. I'm going to share with you guys, remember, I said this was about you guys, so I'm going to share with you guys what, I actually am going to go to Arkansas, and I don't do things in time, I do it in units. I have a contractor out there that I said, I'm going to come out here and I'm going to go ahead and generate 200 jobs for you just to show how powerful the technologies that we built are. He said, come on down, because I've done this before, but without the technology, imagine now. I showed you the numbers when you got here. So I'm going to share this with you guys because it literally will change your game in what you do. Remember I mentioned Vidyard, right? Okay. I wish I had it right on top of mine. There's one variant of Vidyard that's out there that allows you to have your avatar made, and it will change the voice. And most people would do that and say, oh, now you can send this automation. That's the lazy. What I do is I go out to a subdivision, and you guys are going to laugh, but this is a true story. When I went into a subdivision that was gated that I couldn't get in, I went ahead and I saw a lady walking her dog, and I said, ma'am, can I walk your dog for you? Oh, no, I can handle it. I said, can I pay you to walk your dog? You know, she goes, you're going to pay me? I said, $40 if I can walk your dog. And she agreed, and Danny knows this story because, you know, this was years ago. I paid, I rented her dog, basically, you know. And I got into the subdivision, and I walked her dog and met a whole bunch of people. When I got on the first roof, I filmed everything, you know. I then grabbed that video, and I made it specific to that subdivision. I grabbed the same door hanger, and I slapped the QR code that was of that subdivision, you know. And with that, when people would play the video, they saw me walking on the street. I was not the stranger anymore. They would come up to me like, oh, I saw your video, can you check my property? Because I was literally telling them everything I found. Look, guys, there's this, there's this, there's this. And here, the weather came from this side, the storm hit from this side. You got two storms. One was 0.75, one was 1.5. The direction was this. And they're like, how the hell do you know all that? I'm like, well, it's called the spectrum method. You can actually learn. You do this long enough, you're going to get good at it. So it was very relevant. Now, when I go out there, because of this thing that I'm telling you about, that AI, I can now grab that same documented information of that subdivision and say, hi, Mary, you're at 123. Check it out. Here's the inspection I did of John over there, and this is the damage that I found on your subdivision. I can take what I did before and put it on steroids. That's why the guy said, how long will it take you to sell 200 roofs? I showed you my numbers. I did 239 in 7 months, 14 days, and I stopped because it was already 50% more than my numbers. I got a funny feeling I'm going to do that 200 units probably in 45 days. Because numbers, factors, that's what it's all about. Factor back into the base, and you can deliver on that.
So and he touched on this a little bit.
I wish you would have seen that part when we covered the factor. No, you're good, brother.
Go on to make.com and just kind of, what do you suggest for those of us that are not really ready to jump into a whole lot and jump at first into it?
Write this down, guys, okay? First of all, the most important thing with the factor, you guys saw, if you guys need some info, send us a message and say, hey, can you send me the factor for everything? Okay, and we'll send it to you. I want to send you the factor for email, print, greeting card, voice drops, in-person, telephone, cold call telephone versus relationship telephone, commercial versus the homeowner. When you have that factor, just do the math, back into it, and you've got it. If this gentleman from Golden Key does residential repair, there's a factor for repair as opposed to, factor for roof replacement. So I can send you guys the entire list of them because that's just already, available. Then to really start understanding automation, and I think this gentleman would agree with me, right? Make.com, go in there, set up a free account. To make it real simple for you, ignore everything, go straight to scenarios. You know, go straight to the scenarios, grab one, drag it and drop it, and see what you can do. You can actually connect. You can literally say, drag my Gmail, you know, and then put the SMS connector and put your number, and say, when I get an email, send me a text message. You're gonna be like, oh, the epiphany goes off. Like, oh wow, okay. And now imagine there's 1,600 applications in there. You know, again, for the individual user, that's good enough to get started. When you're asking me, let's say this gentleman has 5 different offices, right? 5 different vertical trades, 37 different sales reps in 2 different markets. That's enterprise customizations you're talking about. That's where Radiance, that's where we built it, because we're like, wow, how are these guys going to keep up with all this stuff? With AI coming around the corner, instead of us saying you switch, 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 we're like, let's connect all 5 of the engines. So when you say that you've been using Gemini, then we just plug in your API key to your connection. So it's still your data and your agent. You know, we're not interested in replacing anybody. We just think that there's too many inefficiencies out there, way too much waste. You know. Mm-hmm.
I got a question about the Google Maps thing and the AI key. How do I do that? Like, is it on Google Maps, and how do I get an AI key?
So you guys, that's why we got to talk to Nathan about making this thing so I can plug the laptop, you know, because I would love to show you guys that scenario. And by the way, if you guys, again, do me a favor, give us feedback and let us know what you thought about this, because I will make a more intense one. If I got to bring in my own projectors, you know, and my own stuff, I would take over the screen and bring in my servers and stuff to let you guys see this stuff. Because that you're saying right there, let's see how, well, first of all, let me see if I can give you the easiest way. Name an app you guys are using right now. Anything that you're using. What are you using right now?
For what?
Anything, Job Nimbus or whatever, what are you using?
Claim Wizard.
Okay, Claim Wizard. Go into Claim Wizard and go to your settings and see if it says integrations. Mm-hmm. And integrations, it'll tell you if you can generate an API key. Okay. And if you go to make.com, and what's the name of that service? What was the name of it?
Claim Wizard.
If you type claim and it says wizard,
yeah.
Grab it, put in your API key, and then drag and connect it to something, and you just started. Okay.
And so with Google Maps as well?
Yeah.
There's an integration on that?
Yeah. So if you have a Google account, business-wise, you know, the Google Workspace, you actually have access to 74 API keys from Google. Google Maps, Google Listings, Google, you name it. Yeah. So I actually have all 74 keys, so I can automate just about anything. And right now we're exploring how to pull the Google Guarantee data that's inside the local services API. And pulling it is one thing, automating it is a whole other, you know? Mm-hmm. So that's name another software. Richard, what do you use? Acculinks. So Acculinks has an API, and it sends data. It doesn't receive data. You know, that's what I mean about the limitations of that stuff. I've had customers that they ask me, can I stay on Acculinks? Yes. I need Acculinks to do something. I'm like, well, you got to tell Acculinks to get you to do something. If we receive the instruction set, we can do everything Acculinks is not doing, you know, and that's where the automations kick in. In fact, I'll share this with you. One gentleman said, I know that you have your technology that when you get to a subdivision and you take a picture, it fires on that street. For us, we have customers on Acculinks. Can we send that data back and then also do that? I say, well, if you have a relationship, yeah, but why would you do it that way if you already have customers? That's retention, you know? Why don't we build an entire retention sequence again around it, and those people will be hearing from you for the next 20 years of their life, you know? So again, taking something, and what am I doing? Nothing. I just told them, these are your customers already, you know? You don't have to pay Google, Facebook, and none of that nonsense. You already have them. Just automate it, automate it, automate it. I got to keep repeating it because you're not talking to them, you know? Try doing that at home with your spouse. See how long that lasts, right? Mm-hmm. So next question, please. Did I answer yours? Okay. Anyone else have any questions?
We use Job News, and I hired a a person who came from real estate, who's loving roofing, because he's actually able to close a lot more. And he's frustrated because it doesn't do everything when it comes towards the marketing, which
Yeah.
he's got more of that experience with marketing, being in real estate. And
Yeah, it's great for project management. It's a wonderful Rolodex. It's not designed for marketing. What I like to think of Job Nimbus, because that one does have an API key that goes forward and backward. If Job Nimbus has, let's say this gentleman is running the job through there, and permit gets pulled, that's Job Nimbus telling you permit got pulled. If it's connected, in this case, for example, Radiance, it then says, when permit pulled, send out greeting cards, send out geo campaign, let them know that we're going to be broadcasting that day, and then just turn on your device, and you can see you can have a live cast, all in automation. You're just turning on the stuff to go with it, and now you've boosted Job Nimbus. But that's only active stuff. Your entire relationship, see, Job Nimbus doesn't do any retention marketing.
well, my operations, they wanted to do every form and be lazy, and that's what I'm getting mad at. It's, you need to work.
Right, it's what
Work.
this gentleman was saying, right? We
You
don't
know,
want to.
I go in person, and they're trying to make it to where you still need that first relationship. They call me the closer. I come in and guarantee that relationship quickly. 'cause of
The
my
way I
knowledge.
want to add AI to our service is that if this gentleman is driving and he went 2 blocks past a person that you sent an estimate to and you just forgot, that it literally says, hey, first name, just so you know, you just passed Mary. 2 months ago, you sent her an estimate. You want to circle back? And if you say yes, the AI engine will then notify the homeowner you're on their way to their house. Smart, meaning not lazy. You still got to be
That's
in
what
it.
was getting me mad at, and I want to go that way because they're using it to be lazy. No,
Right.
you still need to work.
Right, yeah. Companies like this gentleman here, I do my research on companies because you have no idea what profiles I have on all 50,000 of you. Companies like Golden Key, for example, you didn't just become a success overnight. You really have to, get some systems and processes and all this stuff in place. You got to see your competitor, especially with a guy that doesn't know how to run his business, right? Is just offering a low bid, and you're trying to compete in a market like that. You can't be lazy. Is where I'm going with that, right? Because even now with AI, people say, "Oh, I'll just have all these engines and I'll beat Collis." I'm like, "No, you're not. It doesn't work that way, So, no, that's. I hope you guys appreciate what we tried to do here today. Dimitri, when he met me, guys, it's how humanity works. He's thinking this gentleman probably wants me to something. The more he got to know me, he realized the less I was actually asking. And finally, he said, "What is it that you have in mind?" And we finally sat down, and I broke it out for him. Now that's why today we have this relationship. And what he's trying to do with the services he's trying to provide and the technology we're trying to provide, we genuinely see homeowners with simple interest loans without the BS. We see contractors not paying dealer fees, like I told you, because you should not have to on your jobs, give up some of your profit when you are the one giving a finance company the business. You want to have sure that the contractors are vetted so that the homeowner feels some kind of peace of mind, that if the job is not done right, there's some money coming back to them. And if I'm lending you $40 million to run your operation nationwide, then I want to know exactly where every single one of those dollars is at. How many of these jobs are on permit? How many of these are, already getting, built? Because that's the kind of tracking we're putting into it, And it can all be on a command and control dashboard. So that's the vision. For everyone else, this session was about giving you guys a ton of information, right? So you can go play around with those things. You'd be surprised. Did I answer your question correctly when you asked that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And as soon as that one comes to mind, if you reach out to me, I'll get that other entity that I was telling you about, which is the one that's not Vidyard, but that one allows you to do the where you talk, and it does it. It talks to every single prospect when it goes out. I just combined it with a video that I created. Okay, all right. Monica, I'm going to turn it over to you. Get out of your way.
Well, that basically sums up the workshop for today. I want to thank everybody for taking some of your time to being out here. We are going to have an after event at OPA. You are all more than welcome to come. These are basically the key takeaways of the presentation. So I thank everybody for coming.
Appreciate it.